How do you deal with injustice? When you see something that is clearly wrong, how do you deal with it? Welcome back. I'm Gilaross, host of the Power Up podcast, where we share short, relatable ideas that upgrade and impact our everyday lives. And in this series, Torah for Today, we take ideas from the Torah portion of the week and use it to inform the issues that we grapple with in our day-to-day lives. Last week on the podcast, I spoke about how my daughter came home from school upset at something controversial that the teacher had said. And I didn't share what the teacher had said, but in my opinion, it was something that should not have been said. And someone made a comment on my Instagram where I posted a short video about it saying, I hope you put your battle suit on and went to school about it. And it got me thinking, because this is not just a parenting issue and this is not just a school issue. For all of us that live in the world, in our communities, in our cities, amongst other people, from time to time, we see injustice. We see something happening that is clearly wrong. How do you deal with that? On the one hand, sometimes we could feel helpless, like, if I do something, what's going to happen? Like, is anything going to happen? On the other hand, you can't just let injustice happen. So what, and on the third hand, I recognize that most people only have two hands, but here we go, the third hand. There are those people that sometimes they seem to go too far. Is there such a thing as going too far? If we see an injustice, sometimes it seems, people can question, you can't do that because if you tackle that injustice, the person who did that may suffer too much. So let's kind of take a look at what's the correct way and how do we deal with injustices that we see in our life. So we have a perfect template in the story of Pinchas. Pinchas saw something in the community that happened, and an immoral act, right? One of the leaders of the generation was immoral in a very public way. And he was faced with this very issue that we're grappling with. How do you deal with an injustice? And he went and he dealt with it in the strongest possible way. Now, how do we know whether he was correct or not? So let's take a look at a couple of things that are going to give us a little bit of an insight. Let's first look at Pinchas' personality. What was his personality? And if I ask you to imagine, you've never heard this guy before, you've never heard this story before, imagine what's the personality of someone who stands up to injustice. And the following image might come. It might be someone hot-headed, it might be someone argumentative, it might be someone bold. This wasn't Pinchas. The Torah, before it tells us the story of Pinchas, tells us who he came from. He was the grandchild of Aaron. Aaron was known for his love of peace, right? That's what he was known for. He created harmony between people. And when we're told that link, it's not just a DNA link that he had, but it was a personality link. That was who he was. He was a peace lover. He was someone who loved other people, and we see this also in the reward that he's given, right? Because a person, when a person doesn't act and they're given a reward, the reward is in proportion to what they do. So for example, in war, if someone is courageous in war, they're given an award of bravery, right? If someone does something outstanding in the academic world, they're given a Nobel prize. What was Pinchas's reward? He was given a peace reward, which, if you think about it, doesn't seem to match. Here you seem to have this personality who is very peace loving, but does this crazy zealous act to stand up against injustice, and he's rewarded. I would imagine that reward would be a reward of action, right? But it's not. It's a reward of peace, and this really is the key. When we're faced with injustice, we have to examine our motives, right? And we're told that someone who enjoys standing up to injustice is doing it for the wrong reasons, right? what was Pinchas's motivation? Pinchas's motivation was a motivation of peace. He saw that what Zimri had done was going to destroy the peace amongst the people, right? It was going to bring immorality into the Jewish people. It was going to create a rift between the Jewish people and God. And he wanted to heal that rift. He wanted to increase peace. And that was what his motivation was. And that's why it fits so well into his personality, because he was motivated by peace, and he was and his reward therefore was one of a reward of peace, because that's what he did. Yes, his action was bold and it didn't look peaceful, right? He actually killed him, right? But it was motivated by peace. Now, obviously, you can see that it can be a very tricky thing, because a person, the easiest person to fall is ourselves, right? And a person can say, I'm standing out and I'm doing something because a hot-headed action, because I want to increase peace. So how do we know? So I'll give you an analogy that will clarify this, right? Imagine you have a mouse, right? Now, a cat is going to go and chase that mouse and destroy it. And a homeowner is going to find that mouse, and also destroy it. But they have very, very different motivations. The cat does it with an appetite. He enjoys it. He enjoys that juicy mouse. A homeowner doesn't enjoy catching the mouse. And I can tell you, I've been in that situation where we've had mice and I've had to get rid of the mice, and there's only one motivation. I don't want that mouse. I want that mouse out. And that, I think, is the key. The question we have to ask ourselves is not what is my motivation, but the question that we have to ask ourselves is, am I enjoying it? Because we're actually told that if a person enjoys the act, it shows that their motivation is wrong, right? If you enjoy bringing down injustice, that shows that the motivation is coming it's not coming from a good place, right? Because bringing down injustice is a harshness, and a person who is enjoying it has to take a step back and say, hold on a second, maybe I'm not the right person for the job. But sometimes a person sees an injustice and they don't want to act. They don't want to be the person to call that person out or to report or do whatever they have to do to take it down. But they do it anyway. That is a person that's motivated in the right way. That's a person that's motivated by trying to increase peace. And we see that there are a number of different people that were known for their zealousness, right, for their outspoken views, and yet their personalities were very different. For example, Satmar is known for its very strong views, right? Yet the rabbi of Satmar himself was known that even though he held these strong, outspoken views, he himself would help anyone that came to him, right? So that really is the way that we see how to deal with injustice. So let's bring it home to ourselves, right? Because unfortunately, there always comes a point in our life that we have to deal with injustice, right? And there's two types of people. There are those people that when they see injustice, they get up and they fight for it, right? And there are people that don't necessarily want to deal with it, right? We want to turn a blind eye. And when we look at the story of Pinchas, we know that turning a blind eye is not the right way to do. We have to deal with injustice, but we have to examine our intentions, and we have to ask ourselves, am I enjoying this? Right? Are you enjoying the process of calling that injustice out? Are you enjoying the process of going for that person who's being unjust? If you are, your intentions and your motivation, it's a hint that your intentions and your motivations are wrong. If it's uncomfortable for you, go for it and do it, because then you know that you are driven by peace, and conflict is uncomfortable, but you have to do it in order to fight that injustice. And that is what Pinchas did. Pinchas was a person who was motivated by peace. He loved people. He loved people. And when he saw an injustice and he saw how much harm it was going to bring, motivated by his love, he went to the extreme and he was rewarded with a peace. And we have to do it as well. We have to increase our love for other people. And when we increase our love for other people, it's not going to let us tolerate injustices. And when we are faced with injustice and we want to take action, we have to ask ourselves, am I enjoying it? Because if I'm enjoying it, then I'm not motivated by love. I'm maybe motivated by revenge or something else. But when you're motivated by love, you have to take action because that's what we have to do. But it's uncomfortable, and then you know you're doing the right thing.
Thank you so much for listening. What did you think about it? I'd love to hear from you. You can get in touch with me, gilaross@gmail.com, or check the show notes for more options. And if you want to find out what it's like to work with me, you can get in touch. Thank you again for your time. And please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss out. Do you know anyone who would enjoy what you just listened to? Please share. Shabbat Shalom and have a great week.